Welcome to One on One with Mitch Lafon. Joining me on this episode, it is April Wine frontman Myles Goodwyn. We talk about his new book, Just Between You and Me. We also look back on the band's history. Before checking out Myles, please check me out on Twitter at Mitch Lafon, MITCHLAFON. Instagram, it is at Mitch_Lafon. Facebook is One on One Mitch Lafon. And yes, last but not least, paypal.me/Mitch Lafon. And with that, here is the one, the only, Myles Goodwyn. We are speaking with Canadian icon Myles Goodwyn of the band April Wine. The new book is Just Between You and Me. Good day, Myles. Pleasure to have you here.
Well, thank you.
And I have to say, I have seen April Wine my entire life, going back to, I remember a huge show at the Montreal Forum, and I believe it was Johnny Winter opening up. This must have been 81, 82, like years and years ago. So, April Wine's been a long part of my life, as I guess most Canadians, for the last 35, 40 years. So let's get into the book. First of all, what was sort of the concept behind wanting to get this down on paper?
Well, there were a lot of unanswered questions or misconceptions around the band April Wine. That was a big reason for writing the book, because over all the years there have been some changes, so people want to know why things changed, why this person came and why the person left, or why this happened, possibly why that didn't happen, and so forth. And I never really was much to talk about things over all the decades. I didn't do a lot of interviews. I was pretty quiet about it all, and other people had lots to say, and I just heard so many opinions and so many facts that were incorrect over the years, and rumors and such, that I thought it'd be nice to just kind of set the record straight once and for all at this time in my life. I just kind of had an interest in doing that, so I did. And the other reason was for my children. As the book starts off, I almost died in 2007. And I went from almost dying into diabetes, into a divorce. This whole bunch of really bad stuff happened to me, one after the other. And when I survived all of that and got healthy and everything else again, I started thinking about my mortality and so forth. And I say, well, if you're going to say something, it might be an idea to do it now. And I wanted to have my children to know where Dad's been, what he's done, because I certainly wasn't a father that went to work every morning and came home at nights, and I wasn't around for the barbecues on the weekend. I was always on the road, and I was either right on the road, or I was writing an album, or I was in the studio recording a record. I was constantly busy and selfish with my time, because that's all I cared about really, was my career, and I worked very hard at it all my life. And if I have any regrets, really, it's the fact that I didn't spend more time with my family when I had the chance. So anyway, with the book, I get to explain to my kids what Dad was up to. Warts and all, as someone said, and I have a wonderful relationship with my children, and I have for quite some time. But the book gave me the chance to explain a lot of things to a lot of people.
Was there a sense of guilt towards your kids in terms of, I wasn't there for you? Is that something that's ever come up where they said, "Hey, Dad, you weren't here for us, so what do you know about us?" Or why? Is that a discussion that's happened in the household?
No, not really. No. But I think it's words unsaid. I think there was a sense of that. But no, we never really had those kind of discussions. As a matter of fact, I haven't heard back from my kids yet on the book. Like I said, we get along very, very well. They were very excited to get a copy of Dad's book. And I think it was kind of like the next thing I read, as soon as I do this and that. I think there's a little bit of apprehension there when they open the cover and start to read of, do I really want to know all this? Of course they do. And like I say, our relationship is great now. I can't wait to hear back on their take on things, and that will happen soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, that'll happen soon. So when you sit down and start writing this memoir, that your kids are going to read it. That bandmates are going to read it, and Donald K. Donald and all these people. Do you hesitate at all, or is it, I got to go with the whole truth and nothing but the truth? And were you at all, I don't want to say shy, but terrified that you might insult people and you might hurt some feelings, or is it no, it's my story to tell, and it's just got to be what it's got to be.
It's a good question. The thing is, I'm not a vindictive person, and if I was, I would have said a lot of things over the years, and things that perhaps were hurtful and so forth. I didn't. With the book, I had a choice of not only April wine and saying things that are pleasant or nasty or perhaps even untrue about anybody. Even with I was married and went through divorce twice. I don't badmouth my exes or anything else. I just try and keep the high road all the way along. But if I want to tell the truth, and some of it's unpleasant, whether it regards me personally or the band or my business or whoever, whatever, then I do that. But I do it as a matter of fact. I don't get deep. I don't name call or anything. I try not to anyway. I just kind of say, well, this is what happened. This is why, and then I move along. So at least when you read it, you know what happened. But if you're looking for me, if this book is not weird, you're not gonna find any nastiness towards anybody in the book.
Well, there
were that kind of book.
There were two moments in there that I found surprising. First is when you mentioned that your son had diabetes. Is that something?
Right.
Was he okay with you sort of talking about his medical history in public? And let's go with that question first.
Well, the thing is, no, I didn't ask him about it because I know it's not a problem. Juvenile diabetes, he was diagnosed with type 1. In other words, his pancreas doesn't produce any insulin at all since a few days before he turned 7 years old. And so he's had to live with this awful disease all these years. He's 20 years old now. He's a student at Carleton University in Ottawa in political science, and he's buffed, so he's healthy, okay? And he's smart, and it helps to be smart when you're dealing with diabetes. But anyway, no, it's just, I've been supporting juvenile diabetes since he got sick. Not sick, well, since he became diabetic. And so it took about a decade, and he knows what I do for JDRF, and he knows even some of the appearances that I do personally to raise money and awareness for the cause. And he knows that I'm a diabetic, of course, so there's no problem there.
And the other one was Jerry Mercer. Now, my family's history with Jerry goes back quite a while. My dad was his French teacher in high school. I knew his kids because at the time they lived in Il Perot, which is not too far from here. You reveal that he wasn't retired from the band, that he was asked to leave or pushed out or shown the door because he was a doper, as it's written in the book. Let me ask you this. Was that disappointing for you that after everything that all of you have been through, the alcohol, the cocaine and all this, and all of you seem to have straightened out, that he just couldn't together? Were you disappointed that he just couldn't turn the corner?
Well, I have to be respectful of what he wants to do. And,
okay.
And in terms of, you mentioned some drugs here and stuff. I mean, it was what this band did, what some of the band did. I'm not saying everybody did it. I don't in the book, but really, I'd probably more than anybody. But that everybody was doing it. It was a lifestyle. It was the 70s and so forth. Everybody did it. In terms of cocaine that you mentioned, suits were doing this, lawyers were doing it, dentists were doing it, accountants were doing it. Everybody was doing cocaine for a while. It was God's way of saying he had too much money, according to Robin Williams. So it was just out there, and everybody did it for a while. But in terms of Jerry's decision, well, I have to respect that. I was disappointed that he wasn't going to be drumming with us, but that was his choice. He was not fired. He wasn't relieved or in any way. It wasn't us. He made the decision that he liked the lifestyle that he was living and has been for a long time, and so that was the way it was. He was also older. I mean, Jerry, I'm 68 years old. Jerry's 10 years older than I am, almost months apart from his birthday in April, mine in June. So, he decided, I'm going to step down. And everybody, of course, everybody out there thinks there are a lot of people saying, "Oh, Myles fired Jerry." Well, that's bullshit. Myles didn't fire anybody. Jerry made a decision, and the important thing about the book is I have I always, when I say something, I made sure that I had somebody to back me up. It was my word against the world or against Jerry's, for example. Some of the Henmans, Jim Henman, who's a dear friend of mine, was around for some of the earlier stuff. Brian Greenway was there through the Jerry, through all kinds of, from 1977. He's still in the band. I wanted to make sure that he was beside me when I made these comments, because they're true. And I wanted to have at least one other person, if not a few other people, say, yep, I was there. He's right. That's what happened. And again, I say really great things about Jerry. It was Jerry's choice. And how I miss him and how he's a great drummer, one of the best, and everything else. And it's just the truth. I wrote it down on paper. That's it.
Right. And of course, as a fan, I guess we would have wished that he had chosen the band over that, but whatever.
Whatever.
Whatever. We've got about 20 minutes. I'm trying to rush through things here. 2014.
Well, we can cut it down to a little bit. That would be great. I'm in the recording studio, and everybody's holding their breath right now.
Okay.
That's not your fault. That's just where it fell on my day. So
no worries. But
all right, no, I'm not worried. Let's move along.
Let's move along. 2014, you took to Facebook and you had posted a message essentially saying that you were going to step down and that you were looking for a new singer. You even had auditions at aprilwine.ca where people could send in tapes. But you're still here. So
yeah. What happened there is basically we couldn't find anybody that everybody was happy with to replace me. We were trying to get 2 in 1. I'm a singer and I'm a guitar player. We needed that combo. I was okay with a couple of them, I got to be honest, because I was anxious to move along or have things change. But not everybody else. Everybody else was no, flat out no. And so what I really needed to do was have time for Myles to do other things, including the people that I care about in my life now, my children and my relationship. So what I said to them is, I said, look, I'm not going to quit. What we're going to do is just work less. I need time in my life, at this point in my life especially, to do other things. I have more than April Wine. I've been doing it all of my adult life. And so everybody said, okay, so now we work 6 months, and I have 6 months to do other things. And everybody's happy. And
including your solo band. Then quickly, the Canadian music scene, April Wine has been at it since 1969, first album in 71, and it was a very slow build to get to international markets, especially the United States. Is there any reason for that? Is it just the way that we're set up in Canada, where we just sort of don't seek international? Because, you look at Gowan or Honeymoon Suite or even Bryan Adams, it's always sort of this slow build to international stardom. Where do you see the responsibility of our audiences and our record companies? How good was Aquarius Records in getting you to that next level? Well, there's a lot about this in the book. And exactly. If you've read the book, yes, you know that there's a lot of it there. There's a lot of reasons why bands don't make it across the border, or it takes them a long time. It took April Wine a long time. We started in '69, but our first record was 1971, and our first international success was 1977. That's the span. Now, during that time, we learned our craft. Our second album's better than our first, and our third album's better than the second, and so forth. We got better. And there were some changes in '73 where David and Richie Henman went off, and in comes Jerry Mercer and Gary Moffat. So there's a big whoop. There's a big, step up in the quality. Up. Right. These guys are awesome. Right. They're flat out awesome players, and so that made it a better band. I was getting better as a singer, getting better as a writer. Everything was coming along fine. In terms of what was the problem breaking the States, there was all kinds of reasons, and the management is a big part of it, and the label is a big part of it. We were signed we had really bad record deals, and that's classic stuff. London Records. Why are we with London Records? It's like, well, you know what? They're kind of going down. They're like a sinking ship, and they're going to give us all their attention. This could be really good for us. Well, no, it wasn't good. They're the worst thing we could. What are you thinking? Of course, they went out of, they sunk. The ship sunk, and our career went at that point, and our plans went down with them. We were Big Tree Records.
I mean, who knows anything about Big Tree Records?
No.
So we had a lot of, we had our share of that kind of stuff. But aside from that, there's a lot of bands in Canada that are phenomena here that can't get arrested across the states. And you say, well, why? Canadians, darling said, what's Jim Cuddy's band? They're Blue Rodeo.
Right.
For example, nothing in the States. Tragically Hip, nothing in the States. All these other Canadian bands, nothing in the States. We sold millions of records, so we've got lucky. Why were we lucky and the Tragically Hip weren't? Was it management? Was it the talent? Why did in Canada embrace these bands like Blue Rodeo in such a tremendous way when the rest of the world listened and said, no, thank you? So I don't have those answers. Was it their management? Was it their record labels? I don't know. I can only tell you about our story, and that's in the book.
And of course, I think some of the things that were going on back then is that a lot of companies looked over to Casablanca Records and saw what they were doing with Donna Summer and Kiss and went, well, if they can save a sinking ship, well, we can do the same thing, right? So there was maybe some of that. Donald K. Donald was a huge influence in Canada throughout the 70s and 80s. He ran almost every venue. I mean,
Yeah.
What was your relationship with Donald? And, did he do the best he could for the band?
Absolutely. Donald's very, very good at promoting. That's his thing. From an early age in high school, he was also a student at I can't think of the name of the high school he went to now, but Sam was my first wife. They knew each other back then. He was promoting stuff when he was in his teens. There's not too many better than Donald. Donald's, when it comes to promoting, he's one of the best. And our relationship was good when it came to promoting.
And we'll finish with this. Last album was roughly speaking in 2006, so a decade ago. Is there room for another April Wine album? Would you like to get another one out there?
I don't know. I really don't know. I know there's a fan base. Obviously we have April Wine whenever we have all the gigs we want, and they're really good gigs, and they're always sold out, and there's a real demand, and in the States as well in Canada. That's good. There's a fan base. Whether I'm motivated to actually make a record, I'm not at the moment, but I certainly would consider it in the future. Right now, I'm trying to finish off this blues record, and I've got another couple of projects. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm not sure.
Yeah, we will. And Myles, longtime fan. The book is great. The back catalog speaks for itself. Every time you're wherever you are in Montreal, I'll be there. Much appreciated.
Oh, okay. Well, Mitch, thank you very, very much. And you're in a lovely part of the world there. Where you are, enjoy it. We're going to have some cold weather coming up.
Yeah, we are.
Some snow, and so just thank you for having this chat. I appreciate it very, very, very much.
Well, it's the least I could do after that. Those shows I saw at the Forum where you guys were just nailing it. It was wonderful.
Well, I remember one time we sold it out 2 nights in a row all the way around when they used to put people behind the ice, behind the ends.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there with Donald K. Donald. We were watching his show, and I can't remember who it was. I'm pretty sure. For some reason, I'm thinking Simon and Garfunkel were in there. I don't know. We were in there. And we're looking around, and he goes, Myles, no, wasn't he? Who was it? I can't think. And he goes to me, he says, you know what? There was a time when you guys sold this place out 2 nights in a row, all the way around the ice. Now, there was nobody behind the end zone, and behind the stage when we were there that night. This would be probably around 80, 81, 82, something like that. And
those are the shows I saw.
That's really something. That's really, really something.
Well, can I ask you this then? One more question, just based on that, if that's okay.
Sure.
The band had that success, and I was at those shows. I remember that it was just jam packed. Why wasn't the band able to build on that and get it to, we're now playing sold out stadiums in Japan and sold out. What happened between that moment and walking through the fire?
Walking through fire. Well, that's all in the book.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. I know
on that note.
Yes. All right. So on that note, how the fans buy the book, and there you go, Myles. A pleasure. It's been 40 years of great entertainment. So thank you.
Okay, Mitch. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Cheers now. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
And there you have it, folks. My interview with Canadian great Myles Goodwyn. The new book is Just Between You and Me. Do check that out. And, of course, while checking stuff out, head over to Instagram at Mitch_Lafon. Twitter is at Mitch Lafon. One-on-one, Facebook Mitch Lafon, and paypal.me/Mitch Lafon should you care to contribute to the podcast. And with that, I bid you a fond farewell. Thank you for listening. See you next time. Bye for now. Oh, my.